All right, welcome to another exciting episode of the PathToManliness podcast. I am Ryan Fellman, and today I am joined with Harsh Strongman, also known as LifeMathMoney. How are you doing today, Harsh?
I'm well, Ryan. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. Typically I have people introduce themselves, but I think a lot of my audience actually already knows who you are. So why don't you just tell them, um, you know, what you are doing online and what the purpose of LifeMathMoney is.
Okay, so I am a blogger now on LifeMathMoney, and I run a Twitter account associated with it. And the mission is to make the best self help, self improvement resource for men. That is, what do men want? They want to get rich, they want to get fit, and they want to be smart. And we are helping them get there by sharing real knowledge and the way that actually works, beside the fake way that society tells you, which is go get a job, or the normal work hard, play hard stuff, which does not really work that well.
Agreed. Yeah. I've kind of found the similar frustrations as I think you had, where a lot of the resources for men online, like you said, they're not really effective. They give you a lot of simple, foolish advice. So, is that what led you to create Life Math Money?
More or less, I think I also wanted to try my hand at writing, and it just went well enough, and people liked it. So here we are.
Yeah, I've been following you for. I don't know. You started. I was looking through your archives. The oldest stuff I found was back in May 2018. Is that when you started, or have you been writing longer than that?
I've been writing Life Math Money since May 2018, but I've been writing since before that as well.
Okay, I mean that's a pretty long time. Actually, I started right after you. Apparently, I started around June of 2018, and I could have sworn your blog, your website was up longer than that. But I remember reading your stuff pretty much from the beginning. Then it's actually been a big influence in me. I really like the kind of advice you give. It's that strange mix where it's not cheesy, it's not fake, and at the same time, it's incredibly effective, but it's
Well,
not exactly mainstream advice.
see, here's the thing: anything that is mainstream, by definition, does not work, because when you look at everybody, they are not doing well. So anything that works will not be mainstream. And the idea of Life Math Money is to give you things that work and real actionable advice, and not the you go girl or you deserve it all and the whole positive thinking and other abstract stuff. I want to give you
Right.
things that you can actually apply to your life and start seeing a change. Because at the end of the day, it's action and the things you can do that count. Everything else is just theory. So you see people doing, say, a positive thinking class, and these guys keep doing these things and they are always at the same place. They don't move. And we want our readers, I want people who read me to see real improvement, and the only way to do that is to give them actionable advice, things they can act upon.
Yeah, that's interesting. You're right in that a lot of these people that they follow the mainstream advice end up with the mainstream job, and I've said similar things. I completely agree. We have a problem with the public education system here, where if you're just kind of lost and looking for a way to pay the bills and drive a 10-year-old Toyota, the school system in America, and I think the school system in most places will get you to that, but they won't get you to that next level that most people are looking for.
Well,
Uh,
it's that's how it's intended to be, if you ask me, because if you take the last 100 or 200 years, society has improved a lot when it comes to materialistic wealth. So maybe earlier, 200 years ago, we would have been farmers, maybe, but now
right.
we're sitting in front of computers. So all of these systems that we have, that is mainstream education, college, etc., they're designed to improve the baseline standard of living of people, So it's designed that instead of being a farmer, now you can work at a shop, or you can get a desk job, which is, I think everybody would agree that working a desk job is more comfortable than plowing a field. So
Yeah.
these institutions and these systems are there to improve the baseline, but they're not created to help you get to the next level, or to help you get to the top 0.1%. And that will always be the case. These systems have to be designed to cater to the majority, because the majority is in the majority. That's where most people are. So if you have
Right.
to build a road, you will build it in a city. You will not build it in that obscure town that has only 10 people living in it. So that's how all of these institutions are structured. They're structured for the common people.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, um, I know you get a lot of messages from people, and I get a lot of messages from people that they're stuck in that average or maybe even below average area, and they're trying to improve. They're trying to reach a better level. What's the first step for these guys if they say are living an average life and they want to start reaching that 1% or at least getting closer to it?
The first step for me was starting to lift. So you need to get to the gym and start getting exercise and fixing your body. And that'll create a lot of momentum in your life in terms of eating clean, and it'll give you more purpose, and it'll help you build discipline. And I think that will lead to other changes in you. Because I can say that with a reasonable degree of confidence, because that's what happened with me. I started going to the gym, and that's how my journey of self improvement started.
When did you start going to the gym?
When I was
Like,
16.
oh wow, okay. And I mean, was your whole purpose going to the gym just to get stronger, or did you have was there a triggering moment that you decided you wanted to become a better, stronger person?
I don't think I had a real purpose for going to the gym. It was just close to my house, and my family sort of said, "You should give this a try." And I thought, yeah, sure, why not? And
Yeah.
so I went to the gym, and when I got to the gym, I found out that I couldn't do one single push up. I had to keep my knees on the ground and do those half push ups,
Right.
and I couldn't do a chin up or a pull up. In fact, it would take me over a year to get one chin up done. So I found out
Yeah.
how weak I was, and I wanted to improve that. So that's how I got into the habit of fitness. But the first day was the most important day, because as a 16-year-old, we all tend to think that we're the best and we know everything. But when you see that you can't pull yourself up on a bar even once, you find out that there is a long way ahead.
Yeah. No, the gym's definitely humbling. You know, I had a similar experience where I started going to the gym. I think I was around 14 or something. It was just something my father kind of pushed on me, and he showed me a few things here and there. And yeah, like you said, the first time you try to do a pull up or a chin up, I couldn't do it either. It took me a long time. Um, you kind of you create these mental blocks where you think you can't do things, and you don't realize that it's not that you can't do a push-up, it's that you hadn't trained to do it. And then the gym teaches you that if you stick with it and if you're persistent, then eventually, yeah, you can continue to grow. So how did gym life, how did getting stronger at the gym, how did that translate to other areas in your life?
Well, first of all, it gave me a lot of confidence, because I was actually starting to look much better. Like after just a few months in the gym, my posture was good. I could see some muscle, and everyone was giving me compliments. So it helped me. It boosted my self-esteem, and it made me feel like, yeah, I can do a lot of things in my life. And back at the age of 16, I wasn't very confident, so that really helped me. I was always smart. I could always analyze and dissect information very, very quickly. So after I could, but I used to feel that I was a nerd because I sort of was. And once you get your body in shape and you start looking good, I think now you've sort of managed to get more of the pieces of the puzzle together. How many nerds are fit? And it sort of started coming together with time like that.
Yeah, I think nerd's an interesting word. It's not necessarily bad to be a nerd. It just means that you're smart. But the problem is that most nerds are not focusing on other areas of the life.
No, I
So
think nerd, the way I interpret nerd is someone who's smart, but they're not popular.
yeah, that's typically how it's used. That's probably fair. So yeah, their life's unbalanced, right? So they're focusing too much on being smart and not enough on cool things, which they're cool for a reason. There's a reason why being strong and healthy is important. I mean, we're biologically wired to be that way. Something that I see you talk about a lot on Twitter and on your website is the idea of being fat should not be so accepted as a positive thing the way it is. People, it's not just about body positivity, it's about health. And when you're overweight like that, there's real life, ramifications with that. So,
I think we are entering the age where people have sort of forgotten that there are standards to life and not everything is the same. I think we are getting to the point where everybody wants to believe that we are all exactly the same regardless of the choices we make. So a fat
right,
person is somehow just as beautiful as a thin person, and a strong person is just as good as a weak person, and a dumb person is just as good as a smart person. But just like any other bullshit ideology, it just doesn't work in real life. If I have to pick a girl, I will always pick a beautiful woman over an ugly one,
yeah,
all other things
absolutely.
being equal. So by definition, that doesn't mean, but by definition, that proves that this whole idea of we are all the same regardless of our attributes is bullshit. So
Yeah, I completely agree.
we are sort of living in an age where the government or the culture, say, let's say the social culture, is acting like a school teacher, where everyone is equal and everyone should be equally respected, and you're supposed to listen to everyone regardless of whether what they're saying is right or wrong. And you can't say things now. So back in school, you couldn't make fun of people.
Right.
So now you can't say being fat is bad because that is interpreted as you're making fun of them. So I feel like we're back in some sort of global school, and we have this small vocal minority policing us all. Like, this is what you can say, this is what you cannot say, and here are the rules. We are all the same. It's like a weird utopia that doesn't work.
Yeah, it's a weird utopia in that people's feelings are being protected in the short term, but long term there's no growth. People aren't striving to get better. Bullying is not necessarily right, but at the same time, guys will razz on each other, calling each other fat, but really what they mean is like, dude, you're slacking off. You need to start going back to the gym again. What are you doing?
Yeah, I think bullying depends. See, you can bully someone for something they can change, and you can bully someone for something they cannot change.
Right.
And if you're gonna bully someone for things they can't change, like so if you're gonna bully someone for being bald, or for being short, or for being a different skin color, or
Sure.
maybe if you go and take my I make some YouTube videos, and on every YouTube video I make, there's gonna be someone commenting, "Hey, you have a soft voice. Fuck you. You're a beta male," and it's not something I can change about myself. It's just how God created me. So I think
Right.
that's just there's no productivity to this. But when men, as men, we need men to show us that we are slacking off. So if you sort of, I have friends, when if I am slacking off, they'll start telling me, "Hey, Harsh, you're getting fat." And that is necessary for a man. That is necessary to keep us on track, to have a tribe that can help. And I think that is more of a positive thing than a negative thing. So if the comments you get are things that you can change and things that can make you better, I think that's a good thing. But bullying based on things you cannot change is just being an asshole.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it can definitely be taken to levels where it's extreme. But I think there's a big difference between bullying from a hateful perspective versus, say, telling your friend that he needs to start working out more. He needs to stop being such a fat ass. Like that's a different. That's more. It comes from a place of love, even though it may not sound like it. I've got a lot of friends that we work out, we go to the gym, we do stuff together, and if one of us starts slacking off, it makes it harder. So, it creates a situation where you don't even necessarily say someone's being fat. It's just like, hey, come on, man, keep up. And when your body is not optimized, you're not capable of like running that race or playing that extra game of basketball or whatever it is. So what do you think it is in our culture that's led to this, like you said, this school teacher mindset where people aren't allowed to be critical of each other to any degree?
I think it has a lot to do with this trophy, participation trophy way of thinking. For example, when you're in school, earlier, if you were, say, playing sports, the winners would get the trophy.
Right.
Now, everyone gets a trophy. So, what is your incentive to be better? And it might work with women, but with men, you need, see, as men, we are sort of nature's way of creating more diversity in the human system. So, as men, we need motivation to be better, and we need to see that, especially when we are younger, we need to see that being better helps. But what's happening right now is that we are told that everyone is equal, and regardless of how good or bad you are, you all get a trophy.
Yeah, and
So,
it creates a culture of stagnation.
it creates a culture that your choices don't matter, your decisions don't matter because the outcome will be the same. And you should just have fun and enjoy your life in the meantime.
I think long term that leads to a more depressing life, because it may make you feel less bad because no one's being critical of you at the moment. But at the end of the day, you still got to wake up. You got to look at yourself in the mirror. And no matter what society wants to tell you over and over again, you know what you actually are. You know where you're at.
True.
Yeah, so gym's number one. That's actually one of the first things I talk about too in the general improvement journey. So you created this really great book. I've read through it at least twice, and I was actually kind of looking through it again this morning a little bit. This Live Intentionally, the 90-day self-improvement project. What was your goal in creating this? Like, why did you want to write this book?
Well, the idea is to give the reader, or it's not a book exactly, it's a program, by the way. So, the idea
Okay,
is to
sure.
give the person who takes the program a very fast growth process. So, in 90 days, I want him to take up a lot of good habits. But as anybody who's tried self improvement, they know that it's very difficult to change many things about you at once. So, the idea behind Live Intentionally is to create a program that sort of gives you all the habits in such a way that they all feed into each other. So when you start working out, you are more motivated to eat cleaner because you want to see more results. And when you exercise, your body gets a lot of endorphins released into your system, which makes you feel good. So you are less likely to seek, say, junk food. Likewise, say meditation. Now, when you are exercising and eating clean, it's easier for you to focus. So, we add meditation as well. So, it's creating a system or a lifestyle that sort of works together. It's a positive feedback loop into itself, and that's the whole system. So, it's a 90-day program that will give you a lot of good habits you need to start implementing, and all the habits feed into each other and make them all easier. So if one of the habits is no social media and no porn, and not watching porn and not uh, going to using social media will free up more time in your life. You will have more time in your day, and you can use that time in the day to read a book. And reading is also a part of this 90-day self project. So it's creating a new lifestyle for yourself, but instead of doing it haphazardly, now you have a structured program that makes it much easier than it would have been had you done them one by one.
I like the idea of how everything feeds into one another. So you talk about telling people to read a book, and the first thing that almost anybody will say when you suggest this to them is, "I don't have enough time." And obviously they do. Everyone's got time. They just use it differently. So no social media. And it feels to me like social media has replaced reading. So people, instead of reading books or reading social media, it's all short-term mindset. Now, I do think it's a little ironic that somebody who blogs and writes on social media is telling people that they should stop. Like, you would think that you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot by telling your customers or your followers to stop coming to you, right?
Well, and see, with social media, it has its uses. So if you're using it to learn and to make money, there's a lot of value there, like we are tapping into it. But if
Agreed.
you're using it to just have fun and, watch some celebrity do celebrity stuff and watch funny videos, that's a waste of time. So I think just
Yeah, no,
like anything, it has its pros and cons.
I completely agree. I think I read somewhere in your website that you said you quit Facebook several years ago. Um, I did the same thing. I quit a long time ago. I quit for like an ideological reason. I don't even remember what it was now. It's kind of funny looking back because of all the censorship going on. But there was like a change in their services where they talked about how outright they were just going to start selling your data to advertisers, and they were basically tracking everything. So I quit, and I found it. I didn't really miss it too much, but it frees up a lot of time. But more than that, there's an anxiety that comes with social media, with Facebook. You're constantly seeing what other people are doing, and you're not seeing the part where they're upset or they're sad or they're bored. You're just seeing your buddy down in Cancun with this attractive woman in a bikini, or someone. You're always seeing the highlights, right?
Yeah, you see the highlights and compare it with your everyday life.
Yeah, exactly. So
It's
that's
very
another one of
bad
the
for your
benefits, I
psyche.
think. It's
It,
it's leading to a bunch of people just, they're constantly feeling like they're not doing enough. They're not having it's the fear of missing out that everybody wants to talk about.
yeah, I think it's especially bad for people who are into self improvement because self
Hmm.
improvement is difficult. You have to cut out a lot of pleasure, and when you are doing that, you're working hard and you're tired, but you see other people having fun, and that's bad for your motivation levels. Even when you
Right.
know that your choices are better and you are making the smarter choice in the long run, it'll be better. When you see other people hanging out, having fun, and going to parties on Facebook, it sort of makes you doubt yourself. And self doubt in general just weakens your resolve and slows you down. And there's no productivity here. It's just a distraction and a tool that sort of makes you feel less worthwhile.
I think that's one of the greatest struggles that people have with their self improvement journey. How do you stop yourself from falling off the wagon? How do you stop yourself from having those beers after work, or eating that slice of cake, or just lounging around all day doing nothing but watching sports or whatever? How do you avoid that?
The way you can say avoid, if you have friends who are not serious about their life, it'll
Right.
eventually start to pull you down as well. So you need to get better friends, and you will be some amount of isolated when you are in your self improvement journey because there's not enough time in the day to both spend a lot of time socializing and work on yourself. So you will likely spend at least one or your first or second year just by yourself, working on yourself and not going out too much. And I think that's a good thing. Some people disagree, but I believe that social skills are fairly easy to pick up again. But once you've created the foundation for your life, it's much easier to do everything else. So you got to find better friends or cut off the negative friends that you have. And regarding, say, holding back from temptation, that is something you just have to practice and get better at. And eventually, your willpower will improve. There is no flip switch that one day you suck and next day you're suddenly very good at it. It's a process.
Yeah, no, I agree. Um, yeah, the big one's the friends. I think a lot of guys struggle with that, and I don't know what it's like, in India, but in America, there's just this culture of, hey, you worked hard, so you enjoy this, and people are very quick to find the reward that they enjoy, and very quick to dismiss like the work that they did. So, somebody might go to the gym and think that they're working really hard, and then they treat themselves with like a Starbucks milkshake, one of those like frappuccino things, and I don't think they realize that they didn't work out that hard, and they're eating something so terrible that at a net calorie they're actually hurting themselves.
I've seen these shakes from Starbucks have like 2,300 calories or some
It's
absurd number,
it's incredible. Their meals, yeah.
like an entire day worth of food in a shake.
I had one over Christmas. They're terrible for you. I can't imagine taking them every day. But yeah, there's something about the American culture, especially where people are just constantly celebrating with food and drink, and it's gotten so excessive. It's so out of control.
I
And
think that
there's
happens everywhere. There is a lot of prosperity because even in India, it's not like this everywhere, but in certain pockets of cities, especially children who grew up to rich parents will have this. They will You will often see them with Starbucks cups and going out every day, wearing very short modern clothes. You've seen these shiny clothes, which look very weird, but people
really,
like wearing them.
huh? Yeah, I'm probably not the right person to talk to about fashion.
Well, it's just a way to get attention, isn't it? If your shirt is
Yeah,
shining, you just want people to
yeah,
look at you.
yeah. It's like you're peacocking, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's interesting. Yeah, there's a real social pressure to it too. People will pressure you into they want you to be like them, right? So I used to work this corporate American job where pretty much everyone was overweight, and the amount of food that was coming in was just unreal. And they were always like, "Oh, come on, it's okay. You can have a cake. You work out, don't you?" And it's amazing how the people around you will try to drag you down. There's a real crab in the bucket mentality. People don't want you on a self improvement journey because I don't know. I think it's maybe because you become a reflection on their lack of action.
I
Is
think many
is
of
that
them mean well, and they just want to see you having fun with them. It's just that
yeah,
they don't realize how fucked up that philosophy of have
yeah,
some fun is because it's not once a month or something. These people are doing that every single day. Now,
yes,
it's I'll to give you an analogy. If you have to study for 2 hours and you take 4 breaks in 2 hours and each break lasts 20 minutes, you've not done any study. And you're like, I'm studying, so might as well take a break. So after every 2 minutes, you take a break, but you haven't built enough momentum to deserve that break in the first place.
yeah. I agree. It's out of balance, right? You'd be better off doing something like a 45 minute and then 10 minute break or something like that, or 50 minutes and 10 minutes.
Yeah, but it's more about the
Um,
culture or like the mentality. Have you seen 22-year-olds now who go on solo trips and because they need to blow off steam? I'm like, you're 22. What steam do you need to blow off?
yeah, I've never understood that. I think it throws off your momentum, like you said. It's like 22. I mean, I'm not gonna say college is easy, but it kind of is at times. And when I finished college, I took a week off between graduation and starting my next job. And like that seemed like a long time, and I didn't really necessarily spend it productively either. I think I just sat around and played games all day and hung out with a couple friends. But it's like they're postponing their life, and they're going off summering. They're going to Europe, and for what? Like you haven't, you don't really have anything to celebrate. I, I might catch him flack for this, but I don't see graduating from college as like a huge accomplishment. It's something that's kind of expected once you start that journey, and it's you should be proud of it, but you don't celebrate it by going off to Europe for 3 months.
It doesn't make any sense. I think college was more important back in the day, where it was rare to have a college degree and college seats were
Yeah.
actually scarce. Now, almost everyone who wants to go to college can just get a loan or pay for it somehow and go to college. You might not go to the best college, but there's some college in your area who will accept you regardless of how good or bad you were.
Yeah, that's a big part of the issue.
So right now, going to college is just another thing that anybody can do. So there's no achievement involved. If you ask me, it's just like, yeah. So what, man? Who hasn't gone to college?
Right, right. No, I agree. There's definitely not all degrees are created equal, and despite that, I mean the cost of college has gotten so high. I think more young people need to take the time and sit down and say, okay, let's do a cost benefit analysis. If I am going to take out a loan for $250,000 at this college, what's my degree going to be? What's my job going to be? What's my income going to be? Will it pay off this $250,000 loan? And I think 90% of people aren't even thinking about it, let alone actually crunching the numbers.
I think it's because these people, when they join college, they're, I think, 18 years old, and
Right.
they've been told throughout their life that college is fun and you should follow your passion, and everything else you can manage. So they think, I think, at some level, they think that they'll somehow manage to pay off this loan and everything will be good and there'll be a sunset and happily ever after. But that doesn't happen in real life. The
No,
reason I
it's
think these colleges have become expensive is because of this, that everybody can borrow and pay. So
yes.
what's the incentive for keeping the price reasonable? If it costed, say, $500,000, there's going to be enough people who would borrow 500,000 and pay for it. And
Yeah.
since you can't default on this loans, this just like a crumbling Ponzi scheme sort of situation here.
It is. Again, people will get mad at me, but I don't disagree with the notion that you should not be able to default. Like I don't know why these college kids think that they should be able to default on their student loans. Now, they're not wrong when they say they didn't know what they're getting into, but that's the deal they made. And
Well, Ryan, any loan you can't default on is basically slavery.
it is, but they signed up for it.
Well, yes, they have signed up for it, and I'm not saying you're wrong. What I'm saying is, if a big corporation can declare bankruptcy, why can't these guys? I think
Yeah, that's
I think
true.
if bankruptcy was allowed in this, these banks would be more careful on who they give their money to and which degrees they're funding. And I think a lot of these gender studies and other bullshit degrees would stop being a thing because banks would stop funding it because all of these kids don't make any money after
That's
graduating.
that's an optimistic way of looking at it, and maybe I think what you would see more than anything is the interest rates would go up, and one of the benefits to student loans is that the interest rates tend to be pretty reasonable. But if anyone, or if they're going to start, limiting who can get in, who can't, you're going to start seeing, the guy that goes to Harvard for law, he's going to get like the prime rate. But these people that want to go to some non-accredited college that most people have never heard of, and they do some gender study thing, well, that's like a subprime mortgage deal. They're gonna get this like 15 or 20% interest rate because the rate of default will be too high for them to be able to finance it otherwise.
And that's fair, Ryan. That's how a free market works. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If I have to
Yeah.
fund an adventure, if I have to fund a pirate, and I know that his chances of success is only 10%, I would want a big part of the return as well. So I don't think
Yeah.
it's entirely wrong. I think right now the system is sort of creating the wrong incentives for everybody.
So, what advice do you give to these people that maybe they're just going to college because it's somehow it's become this default thing? You know, what other choices do they have, and what is their what's the distinction between somebody that needs to go to college and somebody that probably should look elsewhere?
Well, if you want to become a doctor, a lawyer, or something like that, which requires some sort of government license, then you have to go to college. But if you want to study something like history, geography, or anything that you can study just by yourself, like literature, English, things like that, I think you could just buy the books yourself and do it. You could
Yeah.
use Coursera, edX, or Udemy, and all these websites to give you lectures from these institutions. Even for something like coding, so I am a self-taught computer scientist, well, in progress, but I'll be done with it this year. There's
That's
something
amazing.
called the OSSU, where a group of people put together almost all of the courses you would take in a regular college degree. And most of these courses are from big universities like MIT. So MIT has this thing called MIT OCW, where they record the lectures and put it up online for whoever wants to watch them. So I've
Yeah,
been
it's pretty amazing. Do you see that trend continuing? Do you think that there's going to be more? I'm calling it college a la carte, where you're starting to see one free college courses, and then two, like maybe instead of having to apply to MIT and spend 15,000 a semester or whatever it is, maybe you just take a class or two for a couple $100 online.
I think that will be more popular, yes, especially in third world countries.
Yeah.
I do think that a good 50-60% of population is just unserious, and they don't care. They just want to have fun, and they will still opt for college. Because see, even today we know a lot of things are bad for us, but people still do them, like drugs and alcohol, simply because it's fun. And I don't think human nature is going to change.
No, I don't disagree with that at all. In fact, it's one of the things you realize getting into the self improvement corner um, of the web is that there's definitely much more demand for all these distractions and entertainment than there is for stuff that's actually good for people.
Yes, it's because there's very few people who are serious in life, maybe 1 2%. Everybody else just lives and dies and does what they can, has fun, and they are not real players. They are NPCs, if you ask me. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I just feel that there's very few people in this world who have this mindset of, I want to do something big or I want to try to be better. Most people just exist and do what society gives them, which could be, now it's like in high school it was being popular and wearing trendy clothes.
Yep.
Nowadays it's doing pick up and having fun, watching TV, knowing all the Netflix shows that are on, watching the movies, and
There's yeah, there's
they
a
live
real
a
Peter
societal
Pan
life.
problem.
Sorry.
There's a real like Peter Pan problem where these boys or these men don't want to grow up. They want to just live the pickup artist lifestyle and play video games and goof off. They're just postponing their real world journey. It's like they'd rather spend the it's like they're trying to live in the college lifestyle post graduation instead of settling down, building a career, growing as a person.
Maybe, but that's not what I'm saying. What I'm
Okay.
saying is that if you are born, say, let's say you are born in a middle class family. Now, there's a middle class way of life, which is going to college, working a job, having children, etc. Okay, that's a middle class way
Right.
of life. If you want better than that, you have to start a business or something along those lines. Now, most people who are born in that environment do what that environment tells them to do. They don't take risks or they don't start a business, and that's completely fine. I don't see a problem with that. I think most people will live like that. What I'm saying is that there is no internal drive in them that makes them feel like they should do more with their life. They just listen to society and live this. They live the mask manufactured life, and that, I think there's only a few small percentage of people who are born with the DNA to want more than that.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And that's okay, right? I mean, some people are happy living that way.
And that's okay. I think that's the only way the system or the society we would have would work. Because if everyone was an entrepreneur, how would you find an employee?
Right, right. Yeah, no, that's interesting. That's interesting. So, all right, we got to start wrapping up here in a little bit, but I had a couple thoughts I wanted to get to before we finish. One is, in the last couple weeks or so, there's been massive censorship done on social media in general. The now past president of the United States, Donald Trump, was removed off of pretty much every platform. So, what are your thoughts on all this rampant censorship going on? And do you think it's going to continue, or have we kind of seen the most of it and now we're just kind of moving on?
I think we are peak centralization, and
Yeah.
these people did too much too quickly, and it set off alarm bells everywhere. So you see countries outside the USA where the politicians and the governments are freaking out that, hey, these people have too much power and they can do this to us as well. So if you see Uganda, they disabled all social media for a few months for because they have an election coming,
Right.
and they said that these guys are going to interfere in our election, so let's ban them. And I've seen at least tweets where where these European Union leaders are proposing legislation to regulate who can be banned and who cannot be banned from social media. And I think Poland just proposed a law that says that you cannot ban a Polish citizen from a social media platform for anything that he says which does not violate Polish law. And I think these people have, where they got too hot too soon, and now everyone feels a bit burned, and they did it too much too soon with that censorship. And a lot of these governments will try to create laws which takes away power or tries to regulate who they can ban and who they cannot. And I think all these censorship also gave a massive push to Bitcoin and other decentralized systems, because deep down we all realize that it's a matter of time till these people come for us as well. They banned
Yeah.
Antifa. No, I'm not a fan of Antifa. I think they are sort of weird. Let me not. But my point is, despite massively supporting a particular party, these guys got banned. What the message is that when you are useful to them, you will be around, and when you are not useful, you will be thrown away.
Yeah.
And everybody realizes that at some point they're gonna come for you, and we are all trying to get away from that. And they did too much too soon, and now the cat is out of the bag. And I think this is the time where governments still have enough control to stop it.
I hope so. I don't know. I don't know where it's heading. It's something that's definitely concerning me as someone who writes online and uses social media to generate money and to reach people. But it's definitely, the writing's been on the wall. If you've been following stuff that I've been doing over the last year, I've been already migrating away from Twitter. I've already been building the email list. I'm much more diversified, but I guess the real problem is when they coordinate and they decide they're going to take you off Twitter, they're going to take you off Facebook, they're going to take you off YouTube. They do it all at the same time. It kind of unpersons you in this
Yeah.
digital world that we've lived in.
I think this coordinated ban system is very scary because it is really just silencing you and taking away all the platforms you own. And nowadays,
Yeah.
I don't think even having your own website is safe enough because they can just kick you off your web host
Yep.
like they did to Parler. So
Yeah. And the whole idea of like, well, if you don't like this, then just go ahead and build your own social
that
media
is a
network.
very
Build your
stupid thing to say. Anyone who
it's
says that
insane.
is an idiot. Now, what are you supposed to do? Build your own money? Build your
Have
own
you-
payment system? Build your own server? Like that? That's not possible.
Right, right. Where does it end? I mean, are we gonna have to build our own bus system? Are we gonna have to build our own roads?
I think
Like
eventually
what?
it's going to be build your own country, and some people are going to be okay. We will.
I think so too. But as an American, it's kind of a strange thing because we always saw ourselves as like the last bastion of freedom, which is a very antiquated notion. But when people say like, oh well, America is starting to become this like incredibly controlling world or country, we're going to leave the country, and it's like, all right, where are you going? Like, what place are you safe from this? And so many American companies control so much of the internet, like you kind of can't escape a lot of this.
Well, the solution is not to leave. I think the solution is to build alternatives that are difficult to cancel. So, to give you an
Yeah,
example, if you take Bitcoin, even if the governments around the world decide to ban Bitcoin, it'll still be a thing.
right.
It's because it's accepted as currency. In many places you can exchange it for other cryptocurrencies, and it just if it would be like banning gold, it doesn't work. People still believe it has value. And I think more decentralized platforms need to be made. The question is who makes them, because by definition if you have a decentralized platform, the person building it doesn't get paid. So it
Yep.
has to be more of an open source collaboration, or the people building it will have to find a way to do it for free, because I don't see an investor paying for an open source project.
Yeah, it's a problem. I don't know. I think you're right though in that they've overplayed their hands, and people are starting to look at alternatives now. So there's Bitcoin. There's going to be other alternatives to social media. But like you said, building something that's harder to cancel is step number one. And to a degree, there it may be self censorship, but there's certain ways that you should communicate online. And the fact is that pretty much almost everybody that got canceled, they probably didn't necessarily deserve to get canceled, but they did a lot of things that they should not have done if they didn't think that if they didn't want to get canceled. I mean,
Well,
it's
Ryan, where do you draw the line now? The thing is that
and
this
that's the
line
problem. I think
of
they've drawn the line way too aggressively.
no, the problem is that the line keeps moving one way. So today you can say something, and 1 year from now it's going to be something that's cancelable. So
Yep.
if I say today that men are stronger than women physically, maybe 5 years from now these people have become crazy enough to think that I'm wrong, and now
Maybe
I'm
sooner.
sexist, racist, homophobic, or misogynistic or something, and now I deserve to be cancelled. So if we had
Right.
clear rules that we could debate and we had reasonable rules, I think this would work. But the problem is that the rules keep changing one side, and then there is retroactive enforcement of those rules.
No, I completely agree. I completely agree with that. So, interesting times. Um, let's go ahead and wrap this up. I think we've both we touched on a lot, and trust me, I could talk about this for a lot longer. And hopefully one day we will talk about this again. But in the meantime, why don't you go ahead and tell everyone where they can find you?
Well, you can find me on LifeMathMoney almost everywhere. My website is lifemathmoney.com. My Twitter is LifeMathMoney. My Instagram is LifeMathMoney. So just go to DuckDuckGo and search for LifeMathMoney, and you will find me.
Yeah, duck, duck, go it. I like that. Perfect. Well, Harsh, thanks for coming on the show. I had a great time talking with you, as always, and I wish you the best.
Thank you, Ryan, and it was good talking with you as well. Have a good day.
Thank you. Have a good day.